I would have been able to clear the exam if Amer Ali would have not been there. I would have not been.
I did not believe that I will be able to clear my PMP within a month.
I don't know what to say actually. Like I'm kind of like really
And I
trembling.
got my results and I was above target in all three categories.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to this new series. I'm extremely excited for this series and I believe this is going to be a game changer for everyone's PMP exam preparation. Let me share the structure of this series, how we are going to work. We are going to have one class in 1 week in which I'm going to summarize the entire topic. First, I'm going to summarize the entire topic. Today's topic will be stakeholder, and at the end of the topic, I'm gonna solve 5 questions. I'm gonna solve 5 questions of that particular topic so that you understand the topic, and at the end of the topic, you can understand how to solve the question particular to that topic. And one more thing, I will be giving you an exercise. Every single individual who is joining this program, make sure that you connect with me and you complete that exercise. So this is a very interactive session. I am looking forward to it, that you guys can learn from it, you guys can master the PMP. So let's go towards it. And before you are joining, just put it in the comment box, what's your name, where you from, when are you planning PMP exam. Put it in the comment box, make this comment box more and more interactive. The more interactive this comment box is, the more interactive these sessions are going to be. And if you are watching it for first time at YouTube, do subscribe to that channel, because as you can see, my commitment to YouTube is increasing day by day. And please put that like button so that more and more people can know that session is starting. Everyone who is watching, please like this video wherever you are watching. So let's make this an interactive session. First of all, what do you think? What is stakeholder? What is stakeholder? Who is stakeholder? Put it in the chat box. Who is stakeholders? Put it in the chat box. Looking forward for your answer. Okay. Who are who is stakeholder? What is stakeholder? Where are they from? Mention that. What is stakeholder? Good to have you, Shah, Talha, Kevin, Imran. Okay. Define stakeholder for me. Anyone who project touches. Okay, Usha. That's a nice concept. What else? Who is stakeholder? Okay. I'm gonna give like 10 to 20 seconds for each question so that we can get the answer from your side, and then we can work and add on into that. Everyone who is affected by the project affect them. Okay. Anyone who is concerned by the project can impact or can be impacted by the project directly or indirectly. Okay. Mm, who contribute from project or have effect on project. Okay. Okay, so from India can impact the project and perceive to be impact the project. Oh, Pankaj clear the exam. Congratulations, Pankaj. Would love to record your journey. Do connect with me. Who dictate changes to the project? Now that's another interesting point. Anyone who is dictating changes to the project is a stakeholder or influence it. Anyone who is or can influence the project. Okay, individual or group of people who works together to achieve a particular project or take action together. So all of you are right. Stakeholder is anyone who is affected by the project or whom the project can affect, and one more thing, who perceive that project can affect them. So it goes to a detail underline things to understanding who are the stakeholders. So after understanding these topics, the stakeholder topic, the KPI is you must be able to do this. This is from PMBOK 7th. Uh, you must understand the stakeholder domain. It is a working relationship with stakeholder throughout the project. The purpose of this domain is to get agreement with the project objective, and who are the stakeholders, who are project beneficiary are supportive and satisfied, while stakeholder who may oppose the object and all these things. So that is the perspective of the book 7th. So at the end of that topic, you must know what is stakeholder, who are their stakeholder, and what is their stake in the project. Being said that, how do you identify stakeholders? That comes the most important thing. The entire stakeholder topic have only 4 to 5 things, and the most important thing is to identify the stakeholder. How do you identify the stakeholder? Put it in the chat box. How do you identify the stakeholders? We have established that this is the definition of stakeholder. Stakeholder is anyone who is affected positively or negatively by the project, or who perceive that the project is affecting them. So how do you identify the stakeholder? Put it in the chat box. How do you identify the stakeholders? How stakeholders are identified? Which tools you are using? Which documents you are using? What is your perception about that? Put it in the chat box. And at the end of that, first we have the discussion of it. I'll make the summary of it and connecting the dots towards it. How do you identify stakeholders? How do you identify stakeholders? Okay, so stakeholders, I'll give you this sequence. Okay, project charter, Shivati, 100% right. So that's a good way to put it. Okay, Sharifullah. These are the stakeholders. How do you identify the stakeholder? High level stakeholders are identified in project charter. So that's a starting point. From project charter, contract documents. What else? What else can be used? Ah, Kevin, I like it. Okay, stakeholder is anyone who is affected by the project. So Kevin is saying use external environmental factors, OPS, expert judgment, brainstorming, loved it. All these tools and technique are amazing. We use them to identify. Okay, Samriddhi saying through project charter, OPA, organizational process assets, pastel, political, environmental, social, technological, legal, all that is the right answer. Ahmad is saying project charter and then power interest. Okay, power interest comes later, Ahmad. Right now, this is an important thing. I am walking you from step to step. How do you identify the stakeholder? How do you identify the stakeholder? Focus group can be a good way getting the data gathering techniques like information gathering, mapping the stakeholders. No, Shwati, stakeholders are not identified by stakeholder register. Lesson learned register. Okay, so here is the sequence. You are a new project manager, so the project charter is handed over to you. The first thing is that anyone listed as the key stakeholder in that project charter, anyone who is listed as the key stakeholder in that project charter is a stakeholder. As simple as it can get. Now, what will be your next step? In the project charter, there is a name of a sponsor. You go to sponsor, you ask him who are the key stakeholders, who are the most important stakeholders. Now, he will give you this technique is known as subject matter expert or asking expert judgment. You are going there, and then he can refer you, these are the stakeholders. He can refer you as Smriti, you put it there. Check at the organizational chart, check at the lesson learn register. Lesson learn can be there. Yes, interview. Yes, Shruti, subject matter expert, we are interviewing them. So now let's say he mentioned 6 to 7 or 8 stakeholders. You go to those 6 to 7 or 8 stakeholder and have a discussion with them. This is called focus group. When you have 8 to 12 people and this discussion is led by a facilitator, so that discussion is basically called as focus group. So interview, subject matter expert, asking them project charter, and then you can look at OPS and organizational process assets, pastels. You can look at each and every of document to get the data to identify stakeholder. Let me put it this way: identifying more and more stakeholder is the key of PMP. If you miss any stakeholder, he can or she can damages you. But if you identify all the stakeholder, that is the key in the PMP. That is the key as a project manager. Identify all the stakeholders. Now we have identified the stakeholder. What is the next step? Where we will put those stakeholders, where we will put all those stakeholders. And guys who have just joined for now at YouTube, please like at YouTube and share it to your community so that more and more people can join this. YouTube algorithm works in this way: if you like it, it will start showing to the people having similar interest, people more interested in project management. So do like this video if you haven't liked it. Okay, so can we look at a business case? Yes, Smriti, we can. Guys, keep your questions coming. I love to have this more interactive. So keep your question coming. And even those people, because this session will be recorded on YouTube, this will be placed on YouTube. So if you have a follow-up question after the session, put it there. I will love to answer. Can we look at the business case and benefit management plan? I'll recommend. I'll recommend that you look at the business case and benefit management plan. There you can have some insight in that. So you identify the stakeholder. That is the step one. How we have discussed that. How did you identify the stakeholder? Now next step is to put the stakeholder in a document known as the stakeholder register. Yes, Ahmed Bilal. Stakeholder register. Now, stakeholder register can be detailed, it can be formal, informal, it can be anything in the project. It can have name, description, power, position, what they are doing, where they are working, each and everything related to that can be there. So let me show you example of two of the stakeholder register. And guys, this is your assignment. Wherever you are connected with me, or here is my email address, let me put it there, email address and number. I need you to make a stakeholder register with at least 10 stakeholders and share it to me. This is your assignment. Guys, do put it in the comment box for other what is the assignment as I am sharing the screen. So this is your okay. So looking at the so this is the stakeholder register. This is a classical stakeholder register having name of a person, position, what is their position in the organization, what is their role, contact information, and a very important thing, guys, a very important thing, what is their requirement? What do they require from the project? What do they require from the project? What are their expectations? Then we will add their influence, their how did we classify them. But for now, the first step one would be in the stakeholder classifications, in identification, put their name, their position, their role, and the contact information. These four things will be there. Then you go back, look at their requirement, expectations, and multiple other things that we can look for the stakeholders. I hope this stakeholder register is clear to you. So this can be another template that can be used. You can use this template or this one. What is the name of stakeholder, department, title, role on the project, influences, expectations, low, high. This is another template just to give you an example. Whichever template you want to use, you can take a screenshot of, and whatever the template else you can want to work, you can work with that particular template. I have no specification of that this specific template need to be used. You can use any single template that you want. So name, title, role, power, interest, requirement. Now, interestingly, PMI says that the stakeholder cycle work in this way. You identify them, the next step is you understand them. What does understanding mean? What are their requirement? Why even they are in your project? What do they require from you? What are they expecting from the project? How the expectations can be met. So that is basically understanding your stakeholder. Understanding your stakeholder is very important. But in my opinion, which I strongly suggest, before even understanding the stakeholder, I would go to analyze the stakeholder. How do we analyze the stakeholders? There are three tools we use to analyze the stakeholder. I'll come to that. But before even going to that, we classify the stakeholder as upward stakeholder, who are the stakeholder that are reporting to me. Sorry, upward stakeholders, who are the stakeholder I am reporting to them. Who's your boss? Who's your client? He's your upward stakeholder. Upward stakeholder. Then who are the stakeholder? Downward. Downward does not mean you are degrading someone. No, no, no. Downward just means they are reporting to you. Your vendor, your seller is your downward stakeholder. It's an interesting point of view. Your seller, he is considered as downward stakeholder. Why? Your seller is reporting to you. You are not reporting to your seller. You are paying to the seller, and as a result of that, the seller is paying, the seller is working for you. He is giving his reports, he is giving his intakes, he is sharing his information. So seller is under you, seller is giving information to you, so he is a downward stakeholder. Then who are sideward? People at the same level. Who are those people? And then one further level we use to classify, are these stakeholders internal stakeholders or external stakeholder, within the organization, outside the organization, within the project, outside the project. That's a different concept that I never shared. Within the project, outside the project. That can be another way we can put it, to prioritize the stakeholder, to work with them, to classify them. Now you can add a column in your stakeholder register. We will be working stakeholder register for a long time now. So you are working with the stakeholders, you have put it that, okay, these are my, you can put it this name, role, description, and then is he upward, downward, sideward, inwards. You can put it there. Once that is done, then the next thing is to classify them. Next thing is to prioritize them. This is the most important thing, and the most important tool that we use is power interest grid. It can be power interest, or it can also be called as power influence. Both have same meaning, same name: power interest grid or power influence grid. So we use power interest or power influence grid. Let me show you how we do, and I'll be sharing the examples with you. uh, and why don't you give me some examples of power interest grid? Boy, okay, so I guess pen is selected. So there is no foot. Maybe I just downloaded this tool. Okay, good. So we make a power interest 2 by 2 graph. Okay, so further I put it in into 2, making it more easy. So let's say I put power here in this domain, and interest in this domain. These are the people having high power, high interest. The most important quadrant, the first quadrant, most important. These are the people having low power, but they do have high interest. These are the people having high power, but they are not interested in the your project. So these are the people having low power, low interest. So what do you think? Who are the people who have high power, high interest in your project? Who are those people that high power, that has high power and high interest in your project? Who can be they? High power, high interest. Put the name there. Stakeholders having high power and high interest in your project. So let that name coming. So it varies from project to project, but it can be sponsor. It should be sponsor. Key stakeholders, yes, Shivati, you're 100% right. Key stakeholders can be there. Team members, team members can be the sponsor. team members can be there, anyone who has the power to take the decision, and anyone who has an interest in the project come there. Yes, Kalim, that's a very beautiful way to all the upward stakeholder have high power, they can come there. But Kalim, interestingly, uh, your seller, the downward stakeholders can also come there because they are working for you and they may be producing some interesting output, so they can be there. Okay, interest and power there. Kevin, competitor, I wouldn't put it in the high power, high interest. Competitor does not have a power to influence you. It does not have a power to make that can give you which decision to take, which decision not to take. I will put competitor more here, having low power but high interest. So competitor is a good example of less power but very much interested. Low power, high interest. So competitor can be put it into this way. Now, who are the people having high power but they are not very much interested? Fahad, you put CEO. CEO mostly come here. Unless your project is critically important, they don't need daily information. But for sure, the government agencies, the government comes under high power, low interest. They do have power, but they are not interested in your work as per se. Then we have power, less power and less interest. They are not interested, they don't have power. I call them as a kitchen staff. They are worried more about what they are doing, how things are working for them. They are not worried about how the project is going. Low power, I can call it kitchen staff, security guards, people like that. What do you think, who can come? Give me example, guys, one or two. Who can come here in low power, low interest? Who can be there? People having low power and low interest in the project. Okay, what is the difference between requirement and expectation? Now, normally requirement is related to the project. Expectations can be that I am expecting it. It may or may not be done at the end of the day. It may or may not be done. Requirements, if they're legal, it has to be done. People can have thousands of expectations, and not every expectations can put there. Security staff, janitor, um, uh, well done. Yes, help desk. Shivati, do you think help desk? I think help desk do have an interest how the projects are working. But okay, so guys, now the power interest graph is made. The power interest graph is there. Now the next thing would be how do you manage them? You have analyzed them. How you are gonna manage them? What is your strategy to work with them? You manage them closely. These are the most important people. The, the project basically made or break because of them. Project is made or break because of the high power, high interest people. So you manage them very, very closely. You make sure all their requirements are done properly. So you manage them closely, very closely. They are the most important people. Then these people come, the first quadrant, then the second quadrant. You keep them satisfied. Now, how you satisfy them, what are your strategy, that's on you. That's your thing. You understand how you are gonna do. But whatever you are going to do, you need to make them happy. These are the people, they don't have interest in your project as per se, but if they get interested and they become negative, they can destroy your project. So it's an important thing to understand them, how they are working, and how we can basically control them, manage them. What are the ways we can ensure with them, keep satisfied. Now these people, these are interesting people. They don't have any kind of power or you, no legal power on you, but they are interested in you. They are interested in the project outcomes. I would even put that like give them information, keep them informed. Okay, keep them keep them informed, but maybe give them a second hand information. If it's a media is a classical example of this. Media is a classical example of this one. So keep them informed, maybe second hand information depending upon the strategy of your project. Then last, power, no power, no interest, put them on a watch list. Now guys, answer me this question: why do we have to put them into the watch list? Why do we have to put them into the watch list? What is the purpose of putting these people into the watch list? What is the benefit or the purpose of putting these people in watch list? uh, what difference between requirement expectation? I did answer you. I did answer difference between requirement expectation. So put it the answer there. What is the purpose? Their position. Yes, if we, their position may change with the project. So this is very important. We put them, we review them after a time because their interest can change, their power can become, they can become interested, they can become problematically later on the project. The effort can be changed. That's an interesting thing, and to put that this becomes a very interesting thing when the project is working. Now let's look at an other tools. Normally, the other tools are not very much familiar in the exam point of view, but you must know them. The next one is stakeholder cube. Okay, so stakeholder cube is basically a matrix of power interest. It's just an extension, and anything else can be X. Any other parameter you use. It's a 3D matrix, it's a 3D one. Any of those things that can be put in there. The third one, it can be geography. We are measuring people by power, interest, and their geography, or power, interest, and attitude, or we can measure power, interest, and the funding they are giving to the project, whatever the parameter is. What else parameter, guys, you think can be there? Power, interest, attitude, power, interest, geography, power, interest, language, power and interest, gender, multiple things we can put it. We can also put it this power, interest, and upward downward classification that can be put into that. What you think, what else can be added into this? This is called stakeholder cube. Stakeholder cube. Okay, now let's come to the next one and the last one. Now the last one is particularly interesting. So it is basically three Venn diagram, and it is known as salience model. Salience model. It's a model of power, urgency, and legitimacy. From the PMP perspective, you only need to know this. It's a 3D, just like stakeholder cube. It measures the stakeholders on power, urgency, legitimacy. Power, urgency, legitimacy. And the people who comes under the combination of all these three, they are called as the real stakeholders. They are called as the real stakeholder. Power, urgency, and legitimacy. So that's an interesting point of view to understand how this can work into it. Okay. So now we have identified the stakeholders. We have put the stakeholder into power, urgency, and legitimacy. Now our stakeholder matrix, or what to say, or stakeholder register. Where was my stakeholder? Legitimacy covers. Legitimacy can be a legal right. What are the legal right of the stakeholders that can come under legitimacy? So these things are basically in the legitimacy. This we cover in the legitimacy. Guys, I just removed my picture from the screen to give to the entire screen. Was before with my picture was good, or without my picture it is more interactive? Do put it that in chat box. Your comments are the most important thing. They can be legitimacy, legal right can be there something. Okay, so now we are filled with our name, position, role, contact information, requirement, expectation. What do they need? What are the requirement according to the project? What project can build? Expectation, what they are expecting, how this project will be done. These requirement can be of project type, when project is building, when we are working with the project. Expectation is what, how the project will work in the future. Thank you, Aram. Thank you very much. What other people are thinking, do put in that. The pick is interactive, or this one thing is more interactive. Okay, let's check body language is helpful. Okay, okay. So now we have a stakeholder register at our hand. Guys, this is a very interesting concept. Now your stakeholder register is ready for you. But now comes the most important thing, how you are gonna engage your stakeholder, how you are gonna manage your stakeholder. For that, we make stakeholder engagement metrics. Stakeholder engagement metrics. Let me put it this: there are stakeholder engagement metrics and stakeholder engagement plan. Let me put it this: there is only one purpose of a stakeholder engagement plan is to manage the expectations of the stakeholder and manage the expectations or requirement of the stakeholder. And secondly, stakeholder engagement plan is nothing but the strategies, keyword is strategies, required to engage stakeholders. Strategies required to engage stakeholders. Someone can put it in the chat box what I just said. What is the purpose of stakeholder engagement plan? Put it in the chat box. The purpose of the stakeholder engagement plan is to put the strategies required to engage the stakeholder. That's it. No other purpose. Now, how do you engage the stakeholder? When we were discussing about, thank you, Shivate. Okay, so when we were discussing stakeholders, we understand their requirement, their expectation. We also understand uh, which type of, okay, Hussein, sure, I'll speak a little bit more loud. Okay, so we were understanding what are the expectations that the stakeholder may have from this particular project. We try to understand what is the language required by the stakeholder, what is the best way to effectively engage with the stakeholder in a more positive and more refined way. So everything comes under stakeholder engagement plan. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to know what kind of language they need, format they need. That is covered by communication plan. But before that, we make stakeholder engagement metrics, one of the most powerful tool that is for the project manager. Now, please understand this thing. We don't share stakeholder engagement plan, particularly first stakeholder register and then stakeholder engagement plan with anyone. This is a key for the project manager because there can be some information that other stakeholders can take it negatively. So we don't share stakeholder engagement plan with anyone. Okay, so let me make stakeholder engagement matrix for you. Okay, so guys, this is the new one I'm using. Okay, so stakeholder engagement metrics basically have name of the people, then their engagement level. What is their engagement level? Okay, so we put the engagement level of all the stakeholders there. So let's say, let me put the name of the people who I can see. Faryal, I can see. Uh, Kaleem, I can see. The last people to answer. Kevin, I can see. Okay, then Hussein, I can see. Shavati, Datta. Okay. So these are my stakeholders. This is their name. Now I want to see where is their engagement level. What is their current engagement level? Are they unaware of my project? Unaware of my project? Okay. You. Or are they resistant against my project? Or are they neutral of my project? Are they supporting the project or are they leading the project? Where do they stand? Unaware, resistant, neutral, sportive, leading. So let me put it this way. Let's say Faryal. Faryal is currently, her current engagement level is she's a PMP student. So that makes her my, I'm a PMP trainer, my stakeholder. I need her for my training programs, for live session, whatever. Okay, but you guys fuel me, so I need you. So that's an important thing. So her current engagement level is she does not know about me. She has no idea I exist in this world. That is her current engagement level. And I desired I desired that she becomes supportive of me, whatever is the requirement according to your current strategy. But I want her to become sportive or leading, that she not only watch my video, join my program, she also communicate the same to her colleagues, so that they can join my program. They can, I'm a PMP trainer, they can join my program. So this, I need to have strategies to engage the stakeholders. I need to make the strategies how I can engage them, how I can get the information out them. So if Faryal is a PMP student, I need to make strategies how I can change her current engagement level into my desired engagement level. So your desired engagement level can be neutral. Okay, she does not become sportive of me, but at least she knows me. If you know me, at least you know me. If you don't know me, you are not in the session. You have no idea about that. No? So I want her to be neutral, at least neutral of about myself. So that can be my strategy. Let's say mm, I put Cameron, or he or she is resistant against me. Now I need current strategies. See, they are currently resistant against me. So first I need to do something. If a stakeholder is against you, make a strategy to make them at least neutral about you. So this stakeholder engagement matrix is the key to PMP. All the time you are doing work, you are doing engagement, you are doing communication as a strategy to engage the stakeholders, so that their current engagement level becomes your desired engagement level. Let's say someone is currently my sportive and I want them to be remain as my sportive, then I need to do things that you remain my sportive. For example, if you watch my YouTube videos and I provide a content that can helpful, you are my sportive. I need to continuously provide the videos with a sequence, with a plan, so that you can join, you can learn, you can understand every single thing that I have to give you. So that is stakeholder engagement matrix. What is the current engagement level of a stakeholder? What is your desired engagement level? And guys, stakeholder engagement plan, stakeholder engagement plan, stakeholder engagement plan is nothing but it is the list, it lists down all the strategy. Stakeholder, it lists down all the strategies how we are going to change the current engagement level to the desired engagement level. Is this clear? Please put it in the comment box, yes or no. Is this clear? How we are going to change the current engagement level of the stakeholder to our desired engagement level? If this is not clear, please put it in the chat box, whatever the question you have. How we are going to change the current engagement level of stakeholder into our desired engagement level. This is very, very important that we need to understand, we need to work, we need to master this thing. How we can change their current engagement level into desire. That's all about the stakeholder engagement matrix or engagement plan. So now once you have made the stakeholder engagement plan, you give it to the sponsor or the change control board to approve it. You give it to the sponsor or the change control board to approve it. Once they have approved their stakeholder engagement plan, now that remain constant throughout the project. Now that, like, you need to implement that plan, whatever is the plan in the next phase, you need to implement the plan, how you are going to engage the stakeholders. And finally, you need to continuously look at your stakeholder engagement plan and see the strategies are effective or not, whether the strategies are still effective or not, or you need to update the strategy, right? Or you need to update those strategy. Now, how do you update a strategy? Put it in the chat box. If you, your stakeholder engagement plan is approved and now you want to update the strategy. How you are gonna update that strategy? Put in the chat box. Okay. How do you decide sportive resistance stakeholder is risk? Now that's a beautiful question, Kalim. Uh, if you basically engage with them, you communicate them, you use interview, you use surveys to get that data. Are they interacting with you or not? Are they discussing those things that are required or not? You collect the data about them. So thank you for asking the question, guys. Keep your question coming. I love them. Through change request, yes. If we, yes, we need a change request. Now this is the important thing. Once stakeholder engagement plan is done, you want to update, you need to raise a change request. You need to raise a change request. If the change request is approved, then you update it. Now my question to you is that, do you need a change request to update stakeholder register? Do you need a change request to update the stakeholder register? It's an important understanding to have. From start to end, to identify stakeholder and to update stakeholder register. Do you need a change request to update the stakeholder register? Okay, stakeholder engagement plan or management plan is approved by sponsor and change control both. Sponsor, change control. Now that's a very thin line question that I ask you, and most of the time student gets it wrong. You don't need a change request to update stakeholder register. You don't need that. But if as a result of updating the stakeholder register, you have to update, if as a result of updating the stakeholder register, you have to update stakeholder engagement plan or stakeholder engagement matrix, which is the basically part of that, then you need the change request. That's a very interesting uh, thing to master. If you need to update the stakeholder engagement matrix or stakeholder engagement plan, then you need a change request. Otherwise, you don't need a change request into that. So I hope this makes sense to you. When to need a when do we have a change request? When do we don't have a change request? So that's stakeholder as a summary for you. So let me put it one more time as a summary of it. Okay. So you, according to PMBOK, you identify the stakeholders. Step number one would be to identifying the stakeholder. Okay, you identify the stakeholder. You understand what are their requirement, why we need that. Then you analyze the stakeholders. You prioritize them. You engage them, and you monitor them. So circle of this is the entire circle of how you manage the stakeholders. Well, guys, keep your question coming. If you have any question, you can ask me. And one more thing, now we are going to solve 5 questions. I'm going to solve 5 questions with your feedback. So if you want to solve question with me, here is the link. You can jump on the link and I can solve it. Keep your answers and questions coming. Okay, stakeholder engagement plan not to be shared. No, we don't share stakeholder engagement plan. One more thing I want to add here. Interesting question. At what time the stakeholders have more influence? At what time stakeholders have more influence? Stakeholders, okay, you answer. At what time stakeholders have more influence? Put it in the chat box. At what time stakeholder at the start of the project? Well done, Kevin. Well done. Uh, well done. At the start of the project. If you make a graph of it, this graph becomes something like this. Okay. If we make a graph of it, influence of a stakeholder, and as the project progress, their graph goes down. Because at the start of the project, since the project is starting they can cancel the project. So that's why they have the highest influence at the start of the project. So okay, let's solve the question now. I hope you have every doubt that you have, it is clear. So now let's solve the question. Okay. Stakeholder engagement plan not to spare. No, basically, Kalim, we are not sharing it with every stakeholders. With all the stakeholders, there are thousands of stakeholders. With the change control board, we can share. And most importantly, more important than the stakeholder engagement plan is stakeholder register. That we don't share stakeholder register with anyone. Okay. Does the stakeholder engagement plan stay with PM and internal team? Yeah, we only normally stakeholder and plan stays with the team and the project manager. We don't need to share it with anyone else. But if sponsor required, we can share that. But stakeholder register is even more important document than the stakeholder engagement plan when it comes about the sharing, like how we have classified them. Okay. What if the power or influence of a stakeholder changes? So let the question come, so I'll answer the question later. So what if the power or influence of a stakeholder changes? The power of influence of a stakeholder changes, we need to update the stakeholder register. And once we have updated the stakeholder register, as a result of that, if we need to update the stakeholder engagement plan, we need to raise the change request. Okay. So I guess no other question. Let's solve the question. Okay, so guys, this is a question. I made all the question today. So now, when you are solving the question, if the question is more than three liner, read the last line first, then read the question and then solve it. If it is three liner, then you can solve the question easily. But elimination techniques still we need to follow. We need to work with that. Okay, so you are near the closing of the project. We are near the closing of the project when sponsor emailed you that a new key stakeholder, important stakeholder, has been has entered the organization, and he will be reviewing the success of the project. What would you do first? The question clearly asks, what would you do first? That is an important thing to master. What you do first. So whenever a new stakeholder is identified, always the first thing is we go and we update the stakeholder register. We don't even look at other things. We don't look at communication plan, not stakeholder plan, not the issue log. We go, we update the stakeholder register. Once stakeholder register is updated, then we update stakeholder engagement plan. And third thing would be to update communication plan. So this is the thing, and issue log is just a distraction. So by elimination technique, the answer directly goes to the stakeholder register. I can see most of the people have a right answer. Okay, let's go to the next question. Now this is an interesting question. Okay, within which engagement strategy within which engagement strategy. Now the question is asking for the engagement strategy. We know that in engagement strategy we have unaware, resistant, neutral, sportive, and leading, and we have current engagement level and desired. Should you advise your team to classify this stakeholder? How you are going to classify them? You are a project manager leading your team through a process of evaluating and classifying the current engagement level of each stakeholder. You have identified a stakeholder, okay, and who is aware of the project. He is aware. So unaware get eliminated. Where is unaware? Unaware, but is unsportive. He's unsportive, so neutral get eliminated, sportive get eliminated out of the work. So easy peasy resistant. So what is the way? Use Try to identify the elimination, try to identify the keywords in the questions. What are the keywords in the question? And then use elimination technique. This formula is a formula of success. And slow down to understand the context of the question, what the question is actually saying, what are the things in your question that you need to understand. See, okay, so everyone is saying see, I can actually see that. Okay, so let's go to the, oh, why the question numbers are, okay, which of the following document serves as the primary starting point for the development of communication requirement? Now, this is an interesting question that is not asking you about stakeholders, it is asking about the communication requirement. So, you put the answer, I'll answer it later. You put the answer, what do you think is the right answer? Okay, so B, B, sorry, I would say C, B. Okay, so the starting point would be stakeholder register. Why? Understand this thing: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. In initiation, there are only two documents: project charter and stakeholder register. And all the stakeholders that comes, the first step is they come in the stakeholder register. So of course we are getting the requirement, this cannot be project team assignment, has nothing to do with resource management plan, comes very later. So stakeholder register is the right answer. Stakeholder register is the right answer. So it was an interesting question. Okay, you want to analyze stakeholder by geography, which tool can be useful? We just discussed this thing, that which tool can be useful. So put it in the chat box, what do you think, which tool can be useful for you? Okay, put in the it's a simple question if you understand the tools. Guys, if you haven't liked the video so far, whoever is joining later, please do that so that the video can start coming into the algorithm of Facebook and we can start working with this thing. Okay. Okay, if you haven't liked, do like it. Okay, so the simple answer toward this question is basically power, influence, power and trust is this. Power and trust, we want to identify geography. We have an extension of power and trust where we use X. X can be geography, attitude. So power and trust, no, salience is basically this one. So that is not, mind map is not, so stakeholder Q. Last question for today. So, okay. Now, what you would do? You are working in Tesla battery division, and an important stakeholder has requested that he does not need a report for the project and as he is moving to the other part of the organization. You have updated the stakeholder register. Now, what would you do? Put the answer in the chat box. You have updated the stakeholder register. Now, he says that I don't want to receive the information. What is the next thing that you would do? Guys, important stakeholder has left. Now stakeholder register is updated. Now you are gonna change his current engagement level. Now he is more of a neutral. He's not sportive. Your strategy is changing. Okay. But in order to change the strategy, you need to raise a change request now. The first thing you need to do is now you need to raise a change request. How can you update directly this thing? If the change request was not in the option, then you may discuss, okay, it will be communication plan or stakeholder. Since it is in that discussion, so we need to raise the change request. The right answer is to raise a change request for that. Okay, sorry, Mr. Datta, I did not see you here for joining the question answer. So that was it for today. I hope you have learned this thing. Yes, if I saw that my photo was there. So I hope you have learned this thing and you have enjoyed today's uh, this session. If you have any question regarding to stakeholder topic, you can ask me. And remember your assignment. Your assignment is make a stakeholder register and submit it to me. And the next session will be on Saturday. Next Saturday, same time. And what do you think? Should I ask you to submit it to me, or should we make a Facebook group or LinkedIn group where you can put it there? Do message me your opinion on this number and email. Okay, guys. And if you have any question, always ask me. I'm always available for any kind of question. Change request. Okay. Very informative. Thank you very much, Cameron. And guys, if you haven't taken the training, any of you, my next batch is starting on 13th of May. You can join that, and at any uh, time you can basically come together and join one-to-one program. Okay, WhatsApp group will be better, Mr. Datta. Do put it in the chat box. We will see. And the people who watch it later, do put in the comment. Would love to know what is your. Okay, I guess there is no other question, so we can call it a day. Thank you very much for joining from wherever you are, and best of luck for the future endeavors. And bye bye. Ibrahim is the first PMP of 2022. Abhishek, Mr. Isam Khan. One of my student, Palisa. Adirud. We have Jangir with us. Ali, Abhilash, Sabir, Asad, Manish, Abhishek, Mr. Jamal, Mr. Amer, Alvin, Neha, Mr. Raju, Pradeep, Amit, Rashmi, Amana, Uzair, Said, Ash, Ghulam, Muhammad, Aarti, Pawan, Tariq, Iqtidar, Numan, Mandar, Mosam, Niju, Abraham, Wasim, Ahmed, Janjua, Aj, Usman Khan, Afzal Ali. So here we have my 100 certified PMP in 2022.
I would have not been able to clear the exam if Amer Ali would have not been there. I would have not been.
I did not believe that I will be able to clear my PMP within a month.
I don't know what to say actually. Like I'm kind of like really
And I
trembling.
got my results and I was above target in all three categories.
Wow.